This is your AP Government video on third parties. Third parties are what we call any party that's not one of our two main parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. We actually have many third parties, some of them extremely small, and others are popular for a series of years or not. The most popular third parties in our country are the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. Now, a lot of people would ask, why would anybody even be a member of a third party or support a candidate that's a third party candidate? Well, if the two major parties do not support the types of policies or the majority of policies that you agree on, then you might find it a better use of your time and your vote to support a third party to try to get a third party to be a substantial size. So they're going to be raising issues, particularly issues that aren't talked about in major ways by the two big parties. And a lot of people do have fringe ideas or a combination of ideas that aren't shared by one of the two major parties. And some of this just allows for people who have varying ideas to have an outlet, a legitimate party that they can be a part of, so that their discontent with society or the policies that our Congress implements, this allows them to have a voice as well, even if they're aware that their particular candidate might not be able to win a major election. It also gives voice to these particular fringe elements or different combinations of views. And if they are getting traction and a lot of people like that third party candidate, then the main party candidates are going to have to respond to it. And sometimes the major parties are then going to take some issues from that third party and bring it into the fold of a major party. And that can pull either candidates or the party itself to the left or right. So the Libertarians typically register as Republicans, but again, you don't have to. The Libertarian Party is its own party, and it does host its own candidates in major elections and host its own primaries. There are alt-right candidates and Tea Party candidates. All of these people are parts of the Republican or conservative movement, but they don't have to be. They can also be their own third party if they want. Green Party candidates or Socialist Democrats are the two big factions within the Democratic Party. And again, the Socialist Democrats have their own party, and so does the Green Party. So you could choose to just be a member of the Democratic Party, or if you thought that it was valuable, you could put your support behind an actual Green Party candidate and therefore vote in the Green Party primary. So over time, the two major parties adapt. And as they start to take on some elements of third parties, that's going to weaken that third party because there's less and less reason for that third party to exist. Now, the system that we've created also sets up obstacles so that third parties cannot get fairly large. Power in Congress is completely given to the majority party, and then the minority party is everybody else. So you would have to have 51%. Or 50% plus one to have a majority power in Congress. If there's three powerful parties, that becomes much more difficult. And then you would have to get two of those three parties to come together and almost merge in order to control the passage of laws and to get to decide leadership in Congress. So that's very difficult. All of the districts that we have where we elect members of the House of Representatives are winner take all. So if you have 3, 4, 5 people running in an election, remember the person who wins the plurality of the popular vote wins the whole thing. And all of these are single member districts. So we only elect one member of the House of Representatives per each district within a state. That really solidifies a solid two-party system. It's very difficult for a third-party candidate to be the top winner in a race where there are 2, 3, or 4 candidates running. If we were to run a proportional system or a multi-party system, as they do in a lot of parliamentary systems, it would make it a lot easier for these smaller third parties to get a seat or two. But because all of our seats are winner take all, you would have to have the highest percentage of voter turnout. And that just really doesn't happen much for third parties. The Electoral College system itself also gives a lot of power to a majority-minority system or a two-party system. Remember, you cannot have a plurality in the Electoral College. In order to win the presidency, you must have a majority. So It's easier to get a full majority if there's only two parties. Once you introduce a strong third party into the electoral college system, it's a lot easier for one of those candidates to win a plurality but not a majority. That would kick the electoral college into the House of Representatives to choose the president. And for obvious reasons, depending upon which party controls the House, you might not trust the House of Representatives to choose your president properly. It's also very difficult, time-consuming, and expensive to get candidates on the ballot. Every single state, if you're running in a national election like the presidency, you have to follow every state's laws. You have to pay a fee in every state, and typically you have to go around to get a certain number of signatures to prove that you're a viable candidate just to get on the ballot. Now, the political parties have large memberships, so they can get a lot of people to volunteer and help you. They can also do things like fundraise money for you, get you on the news, and the system that we have for the presidential debates and vice presidential debates, you have to prove that you're polling at a certain percentage in the popular vote in order to be invited to the TV debates. And that's really the main platform where a lot of people get to see the candidates debate and discuss various policies.